The Prime Minister is in deep strife over this Qantas scandal. Anthony Albanese might have been in breach of ministerial guidelines. The Labor leader, the leader of the Workers' Party, is now exposed as an enthusiastic indulger in the comforts of Qantas business class, first class and its chairman's lounges, right in the middle of a cost of living crisis. This comes just after Albanese fell behind in the polls for the first time and after it was revealed he'd added to his real estate portfolio by purchasing a $4.3 million beach house. The Qantas revelations have come from a much-anticipated book by former Liberal Party advisor, Qantas PR staffer and Australian Financial Review journalist Joe Aston. The book's called The Chairman's Lounge. What we have now is a ripping story about the Prime Minister, the Qantas CEO, his upgrades and their troubles. The Qantas boss, Alan Joyce, is gone now, taking his multi-million-dollar payout, having damaged the national carrier's brand in recent years. But Albanese's relationship with him was cosy, and it goes back to when Albanese was Transport Minister in the Rudd and Gillard governments. The claim now is that Albanese not only granted upgrades from Qantas, that is when you put into business or first class, even though you only paid for an economy ticket. And not only did he accept upgrades for personal travel, family holidays and the like, but crucially, that Albanese actually asked for the upgrades while he was Transport Minister, and even going directly to the CEO, Joyce, over his personal travel. That makes the question you're about to hear the most important one. And note how the Prime Minister simply does not answer it. In fact, I'll let it run and you'll see how he wanders off onto all sorts of irrelevant nonsense to avoid the real issue.
Did you call Alan Joyce personally for these upgrades?
Look, the idea Qantas have a number in terms of bookings that are private bookings, and in terms of the only discussions that I can recall with Alan Joyce, certainly we discussed, not through calls, we discussed the first flight from Australia to Dubai on an A380. I might note as well that the Today Show, Sunrise, it was full of media. These were not commercial flights. They were all recording and doing interviews on the way. Kerry-Anne Kennelly was there in Dubai along with other people from the project and for all of these TV shows.
Oh dear, Kerry-Anne Kennelly, the project, whatever. He just doesn't want to talk about the real issue. Look, many of our politicians get these upgrades. Is that a problem? Maybe. Is it overdone? Maybe. But it's not against the rules. It is allowed as long as they're declared. So that's not the issue here. The issue is whether Albanese went a step further than accepting an upgrade when it came his way, whether he asked for them, and actually whether he then knew that he'd be granted them. Now, if that were true, for instance, you could book an economy flight to London and you'd know you're going to end up in the luxury of first class, a gift worth $10,000 or more. And this sort of procurement is exactly what Aston has alleged.
Well, I don't think it's appropriate behaviour whether it's declared or not. I mean, to solicit upgrades when you are on private travel and you are the Minister for Transport regulating the airline industry, to approach the CEO of the national airline to ask to have your economy ticket magically turned into a pointy-end ticket, it's just inappropriate conduct whether or not it's declared or not. And I think if Anthony Albanese had been Financial Services Minister and had called the CEO of a bank and said, would you please put $50,000 in my bank account, and then disclosed it on the pecuniary interest register, I certainly don't think anyone would be sitting around saying, oh, well, he declared it, that's fine.
The trouble is that even when he was pressed on whether he'd made personal requests, Anthony Albanese simply refused to answer the central allegation.
I'm far from being the most frequent person of being upgraded. Paul Fletcher's been upgraded at least 69 times. that he's declared, 69. He's been in Parliament for less time than I've been in. And, you know, if people, I think, you know, what you need to do is to make sure you stick to the rules. I've done that at all times.
But there is a clear reason the Prime Minister might not want to answer that crucial question. You see, depending on whether or not these claims are true, depending on the answer, should Albanese ever give one, he could be in breach of the rules. That is, the Ministerial Code of Conduct. On gifts, the current code is exactly the same as it was when Anthony Albanese was Transport Minister. And it says ministers may accept official gifts, hospitality, tokens of appreciation and similar formal gestures in accordance with the relevant guidelines, but must not seek or encourage any form of gift in their personal capacity. There you go. You cannot seek gifts for obvious reasons. No wonder the Prime Minister is so testy today, lashing out at Aston.
The person who is trying to sell a book, and fair enough, I don't see declarations that he's a former Liberal Party staffer for a number of senior members of the Liberal Party, including Joe Hockey and Bruce Baird. I don't see declarations that he's a former Qantas employee. I don't see declarations that in June, just a few months ago, he was a guest, him and John Howard, at a Liberal Party fundraiser in the electorate of Wentworth.
Well, Aston has always been open about all of that. Everyone in politics knows it. And in fact, his time as a Liberal staffer is declared in the very first line of the book's introduction. The Prime Minister seems to be flailing around desperately, and he's lashing out at the opposition leader too.
Peter Dutton seems to be determined to just be arrogant and nasty every day. That's up to him, but I'll continue to do my job.
But still, the critical question about seeking upgrades goes unanswered.
There's no accusation being made with any specifics at all about any of this. None. 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 Peter Dutton is making this statement. If there is a suggestion to be made, let it be made specifically, and I'll answer it. But I have said very clearly that I recall direct discussions with Alan Joyce over the flights, the Emirates or Qantas flight to Dubai, and of course the first flight to Perth. They're the only times that I was on a plane with Alan Joyce.
Again, that's not the question. We don't care. He's talking about anything except the question. This issue is now likely to be probed in Parliament next week, of course, and could even be referred to the new Federal Anti-Corruption Commission. But it's important also to note what the man who broke this story says is not being alleged.
I'm not trying to say that there is established causality between Anthony Albanese asking for and receiving a benefit and Anthony Albanese making some decision or not making some decision. I'm not saying that, and I don't think you can say that.
Still, Albanese has decided attack is his best form of defence. Extraordinarily, rather than give a clear denial to the critical question, the Prime Minister has sought to smear Dutton and other unnamed MPs.
I don't have a trust. I don't have a family trust. I don't have any shares. I've never had any shares in any company. I have always acted in an open and transparent way, and it's up to others to say why it is that they have trusts, why it is that we don't know what they own, what they invest in, what income they have, all hidden away. I have not done that. And in my time in public life, I have acted with integrity. I have acted in a way that is entirely appropriate, and I have declared in accordance with the rules. Even I read today, I declared a cookbook today, because I declare things even when there's no obligation to do so. I have always erred on the side of caution. Thanks very much.
This issue could go anywhere. But just as the Qantas brand has suffered in recent years, Albanese is now in deep strife with the electorate. The self-styled working-class man is now seen as the champagne-sipping Chairman's Club member with his hand out for first-class holiday flights on the cheap, while he's got a multi-million-dollar beach house as a backup for lazy weekends. But he tells us he's focused on the cost of living crisis. Good luck selling that. You'll have to hope now that the caucus colleagues, his caucus colleagues in Canberra, don't start to think that they need an upgrade in their leadership.